Welcome to this explainer. Think of this session as your ultimate martial arts dojo for Cambridge computer science. Our core concept today? Flow like water. You need to be able to adapt your style to absolutely any question the examiners throw at you. You are here because you want to master one of the most notoriously tricky, trap-filled areas in the entire Cambridge syllabus. Topic 14.3, the role of servers. Specifically, we are looking at their function in a network and the entire request and response communication cycle. And listen, whether you're tackling syllabus code 0417, 0478, 2210, 9618, or you're aiming for the absolute pinnacle in 9626, the strategy we are unpacking today is going to change the way you take exams. Let me paint a picture for you. I want you to imagine a real Cambridge past paper question sitting right in front of you. It's a heavy, intimidating 8-mark question on server request and response cycles. The clock is ticking down. Now meet two typical students taking this exam. First, there's Alex. Alex is what I call a data dumper. He overloads the paper with raw computer science facts, literally listing every single server type he has ever memorized. He's writing furiously, dumping everything he knows onto the page. But here's the problem. There's zero analysis. None. Beside him is Sam. Now Sam is a rusher. Sam races through the paper and completely misses the command word requirements. They write a massive paragraph, but they are answering the wrong question entirely. If we look at their papers side by side, it is just covered in red pen marks from the examiner. They're dropping easy marks. And the tragic part? It's not because they don't know the technology. It's because they don't know how to play the game. They don't have a system. Well, today, that changes completely.
Here is your roadmap for today. We'll be covering 4 main pillars: core principles, the procedural framework, top examiner warnings, and critical analysis. Let's get straight to it.
Section 1. Core Principles and How We Actually Master the Cognitive Domains.
Okay, let's dive into this. To truly master the Cambridge IT 9626 papers, and frankly, any upper-level computer science exam you'll ever take, you have to understand the academic benchmarks. Cambridge doesn't just grade you on what you know. They break your assessment down into 3 highly specific cognitive domains: knowledge and understanding, application, and analysis. Now, think back to Alex, our student who dumped all those facts on the page. Alex absolutely maxed out his knowledge domain. He knows his stuff, but here is the brutal truth. That is only worth a tiny fraction of the overall marks. The examiners expect you to move far beyond rote memorization. They want active application. They want you to take a concept and mold it to a specific scenario. And this is where I need to introduce you to the absolute ultimate weapon for dominating these domains. It's an acronym you need to memorize right now. The PEAL framework. P-E-E-L. Point, evidence, explanation, link. Top students structure every single one of their answers using this exact framework. It is non-negotiable. First, you make your point about the server's function. Second, you provide evidence extracted directly from the scenario they gave you. Third, you provide the explanation of the technical request-response cycle. And finally, you link it all back to the specific network context of the question. If you do this, you become mathematically unstoppable on the rubric.
Notice the phrase on screen: analytical depth over superficial breadth. This is absolutely crucial, and it's exactly where Alex went so wrong. Logical, structured reasoning based on evidence is what the assessment framework truly prioritizes. It's not about how much you know in general, it's about how deeply you know the specific thing they are asking about. Let's do a quick interactive challenge right now. I'm going to give you 2 sentences, and you tell me which one follows the PEAL framework. Sentence A. A file server stores files and uses a request and response cycle to send data to a client computer when asked. Okay, now, sentence B. In the hospital network scenario, the dedicated file server prioritizes request and response cycles for patient records. This is because localized caching minimizes latency during critical medical emergencies, ensuring doctors receive requested data without network bottlenecking. You can immediately hear why sentence B completely crushes it, right? Sentence A is just superficial breadth. It's a generic textbook fact. It gets you maybe 1 mark if you're lucky. But sentence B? That is analytical depth. It makes a clear point, provides evidence from the hospital scenario, explains the technical latency, and links it directly back to the medical context. That is exactly how you secure top-tier marks. Before we continue, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams, at acetheexams_IGCS to excel in your Cambridge examinations. Click that subscribe button and hit the bell icon right now.
Moving right along into Section 2, the procedural framework, also known as the method mark strategy.
All right, this is where we see the real transformation happen. This is where we take the bleeding red pen marks on Sam's paper and turn them into beautiful green check marks. In complex server function questions, the analytical process itself earns you points through what Cambridge calls the method marks strategy. Think of it like a math exam. Even if your final conclusion is slightly off, showing the correct systematic sequence guarantees you vital method marks along the way. So I'm going to walk you through the standardized 5-step sequence you must use to deconstruct any complex server question. Step 1. Identify key elements. Extract the relevant data from the prompt. Are they asking about a proxy server, a DNS server? What is the specific environment? Step 2. Apply relevant principles. Think about the specific request and protocols involved. Is it HTTP? Are we talking about TCP/IP handshakes? Step 3. Execute analysis. This is where you break down the communication cycles step by step. The client sends a request header, the server authenticates that request, and then dispatches the payload. Step 4. Verify results. Stop and look back at the command word in the question. Did they ask you to describe or did they ask you to evaluate? Because those require two completely different answers. And finally, Step 5. Present format. Using this exact 5-step method, Sam takes a rushed, terrible answer like, the server sends data back, and transforms it into a highly structured HTTP GET request analysis that properly evaluates the scenario. It's a total game changer.
Now I want to expand on that final step, Step 5, because it involves strict presentation conventions. When you are writing your answers, you need proper headings, correct terminology, appropriate formats, and clear annotation. You have to show exactly how professional IT skills are applied in the final answer. Listen to me, you are not a high school student when you sit down at that desk. You are an IT professional reporting to a chief technology officer. If you call a server a data machine instead of a database server, the examiner is going to deduct marks for poor terminology. If you write a massive, unreadable block of text instead of neatly annotated, logically separated paragraphs, you lose formatting marks. It's harsh, but it's the reality of the Cambridge Standard.
Stop scrolling. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams, at acetheexams_IGCSE to excel in your Cambridge examinations. We've helped thousands of students improve by 2 to 3 grade boundaries. Join them right now by subscribing to at acetheexams_IGCSE and turn on all notifications so you never miss our weekly exam strategy sessions. All right, let's jump into Section 3, Top Examiner Warnings and How to Avoid the Traps. We are now looking directly at the Principal Examiner Reports. These are the confidential documents that tell us exactly where most students lose critical marks year after year. It's basically a cheat code for what not to do. Here are the top 3 mistakes across the board. Number 1, using the wrong approach for the context. Number 2, forgetting format and presentation checks. And number 3, answers lacking specific context. Let's do our second interactive workshop challenge, Find the Flaw. I'm going to read a flawed sample paragraph, and I want you to spot which of these 3 mistakes is destroying the student's grade. Ready? Here we go. When the user clicks the link, the proxy server intercepts the request. A proxy server is useful because it hides the IP address of the client computer, providing anonymity. Proxy servers can also cache web pages to speed up load times. Okay, think about it. What's wrong there? Did you catch it? The flaw is a massive case of mistake number 3. The examiner commentary for this exact type of answer reads, while technically accurate regarding proxy server functions, the candidate failed to link these features to the school network scenario provided in the prompt. 0 marks awarded for application. 0 marks. Let that sink in. They knew the tech, but because they didn't link it to the school network mentioned in the question, they got nothing. Context is literally everything.
So the crucial point we really need to hammer home is captured perfectly by this Principal Examiner alert. The classic mistake is providing generic answers not specific to the question context. Always link every point to the given scenario. Let's do challenge 3, speed writing. Let's see how a perfect Peel paragraph looks under pressure. Imagine your exam scenario is a global e-commerce website on Black Friday. You've got to write this fast. Point: a load balancing server is critical. Evidence: the scenario mentions Black Friday e-commerce, implying massive, sudden traffic spikes. Explanation: the load balancer intercepts incoming client requests and intelligently distributes the response workload across multiple backend web servers. Link: this prevents any single server from crashing during the rush, ensuring continuous revenue generation and 100% uptime for the business. Do you see the flow? No generic answers, pure, targeted context. That is how you dominate the paper.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 4, Mastering Critical Analysis. It's time to reach the summit. If you want those top-tier marks, I'm talking about the A and the A-star grades, you have to prove to the examiner that you can do more than just apply knowledge. You must analyze and evaluate. The absolute key here is evaluative thinking.
This means questioning assumptions, considering different perspectives, and justifying your decisions with hard evidence. When an exam question asks you to evaluate the use of a dedicated server versus a peer-to-peer network for this business, they absolutely do not just want a bulleted list of pros and cons. That's GCSE level. At the AS and A level, they want you to weigh those pros and cons against the specific, unique needs of the business. You need to consider their budget, the security implications of their data, the technical skill of their staff, and then, this is the most important part, make a definitive, heavily evidence-backed recommendation. If the command word is evaluate, your brain must instantly shift into this multi-perspective justification mode.
And this brilliantly illustrates the massive difference between a passing approach and an excelling approach. A generic answer relies entirely on rote facts, without scenario links. It's safe, it's comfortable, and frankly, it will keep you anchored forever to a C grade. A context-specific answer, however, ties every single point directly to the given scenario, actively utilizing that Peel framework we discussed. But here's another pro tip. You also have to manage your time based on the mark scheme using a time management matrix. You have to adapt your style based on exactly what the command word and the point value demand. An 8-mark evaluation needs 4 distinct context-linked points with a justified, robust conclusion. A 2-mark description, that just needs 2 quick, highly accurate sentences. Don't write a novel for a 2-mark question, and don't write bullet points for an 8-mark evaluation. Flow like water. Adapt to the specific container of the question.
Now, when you are asked to evaluate and compare different server communication approaches, say, for example, a thick client request cycle versus a thin client request cycle, you must run your answer through a comparative analysis checklist. First, identify similarities and differences. A true high-level comparative analysis doesn't just focus on how things contrast, it actively acknowledges their shared foundations. Second, you must use comparative connectives, words like whereas, in contrast to, or similarly. Why? Because this flags directly to the examiner that you are actively comparing, not just describing two things in isolation. Third, support each comparison with evidence from the text. And finally, draw conclusions about their relative importance to the specific scenario. Let me be clear. If you just list the features of server A in paragraph 1 and the features of server B in paragraph 2, without actively linking them together, you will lose out on the highest analytical marks.
All right, for our final interactive challenge, we have to talk about data interpretation. Very often, Topic 14.3 questions will throw a complex network diagram at you, or maybe a chart of server uptime, or a massive data table showing request latency across different nodes. When faced with a complex network diagram, don't just stare at it and panic. I want you to use this specific formula. Extract, interpret, conclude. Step 1. Extract the core trend. You literally write, the diagram shows all client requests routing through a single proxy. Step 2. Interpret the relationship. You write, this architecture creates a single point of failure and a massive potential bottleneck for network traffic during peak hours. Step 3. Conclude based on evidence. You finish with, therefore, a redundant server architecture with a load balancer should be implemented to ensure high availability. Extracting data correctly from texts and tables to draw these evidence-based conclusions is simply non-negotiable for the top marks.
You now have the complete, 100% optimized blueprint to tackle server functions. We have built your final system. You have the 3 rules that guarantee top marks. Number 1, command word decoding. Number 2, PEL framework application. And number 3, the time management matrix. The difference between Alex, who dumped data and failed, and the strategist who aces the exam isn't just raw knowledge, it's execution. Students who implement these computer science strategies see an average improvement of 2 grade boundaries, but only if they practice consistently with our weekly videos. Here's your final reminder. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams, at @AceTheExams_IGCS to excel in your Cambridge examinations. Subscribe right now to @AceTheExams_IGCS and click that bell. Don't let another exam pass you by. Drop a comment below with your target grade for computer science and the biggest challenge you're facing. Our team responds to every comment. Like and share this video with a study partner. Ace the Exams. Your Cambridge success starts here. So I leave you with this final question. How will you apply this blueprint to your very next past paper practice session?